My phone buzzed on a Tuesday morning. Mom. Her voice sounded strange, almost rehearsed. She invited me over for a family discussion, something important about Grandpa William's estate. 3 months had passed since I buried him, since the Victorian house on Elm Street became mine. The same house where I spent my best childhood summers. The same house my family suddenly cared about. I should have known something was wrong when Harper texted me twice that week, asking how I was doing. She never did that. I told myself, maybe they wanted to heal, to come together after losing Grandpa. I had no idea I was walking into an ambush. Before I take you into that living room where everything changed, I need to ask you something. Where are you watching this from? If this story sounds familiar, or if you have ever dealt with family greed, hit that like button and subscribe. You will want to hear how this played out, because what I found in that will change everything. Grandpa William was not just my grandfather. He was the only person in my family who actually saw me. Really saw me. When I was 12 years old, my parents, Richard and Linda, went through a brutal divorce. Neither of them wanted me around during the fighting, so Grandpa took me in for 2 years. Those 2 years shaped who I became. He taught me how to fix cars in his garage on Saturday mornings. Grease under our fingernails, classic rock playing on his old radio. He taught me how to cook real food, not just microwave dinners. He showed me how to work with wood, how to measure twice and cut once, how to be patient with yourself when you mess up. The house itself was magic to me. A Victorian built in 1924, painted navy blue with white trim and a wraparound porch. Grandpa bought it in 1965 when he was just 30 years old, fresh out of the Navy. He raised my dad there. He refinished the hardwood floors himself. He planted the oak tree in the backyard that now stretched 40 feet high. Every corner held a memory. Every room told a story. He used to say the same thing over and over during those last years. This house has stories, Cole. Make sure they continue. My siblings were different. Harper, 31, was always the golden child. She got straight A's landed. A marketing manager job at a tech company, married Andrew, who worked at a bank downtown. Everything she touched seemed to turn perfect, at least on the surface. Travis, 28, was the one my parents pushed hardest. Startup founder, they would brag even after his first company collapsed. Then his second. He was working on his third when Grandpa died, living with his girlfriend Kristen in a studio apartment, drowning in debt, but still talking big about his next venture. And me, I was 26, working as a junior architect at a firm in Portland. I made decent money, lived in a small apartment, paid my bills on time. I was invisible to my parents. They never asked about my projects, never came to see the buildings I helped design. Harper got all the attention, Travis got all the pressure, and I got forgotten, except by Grandpa. He asked about every blueprint, every client meeting, every small victory at work. He made me feel like what I did mattered. 2 years before he died, the doctors found cancer in his lungs. Stage 3. The chemotherapy made him weak, made his hands shake, made him lose that thick gray hair I remembered from childhood. I drove him to every appointment at the hospital on Cedar Avenue. I picked up his prescriptions at the pharmacy on 5th Street. I cooked him meals he could actually keep down, soft foods that would not upset his stomach. Chicken soup, mashed potatoes, scrambled eggs with cheese. Harper visited maybe once a month. She would stay for an hour, talk about her job, her promotion, her new car. She was busy, she said. Important meetings, big clients. Travis disappeared completely. He called every few months, asking Grandpa for money. $500 here, $1,000 there. Grandpa always said no, gently but firmly. My parents came by occasionally, but they spent most visits trying to convince Grandpa to sell the house. Move into a nursing home, they said. Assisted living, somewhere with medical staff. Grandpa refused every time. This is my home, he told them. I am dying here in the house I built my life in. 1 week before he passed, Grandpa called me into his bedroom. The August heat made the room stuffy, even with the windows open. He reached into his nightstand and pulled out 2 things, a brass key on a leather strap. and a sealed manila envelope with my name written in his shaky handwriting. "Keep this safe," he told me, pressing both into my hands. "You will need it." His eyes were serious, more serious than I had ever seen them. "Your siblings forgot what family means," he said, "but you never did." I did not understand what he meant. I thought he was just being sentimental nostalgic, the way old people get when they know the end is close. I tucked the envelope into my desk drawer at home and put the key on my keychain. One Tuesday night in late August, I got the call from the hospice nurse. He had passed peacefully in his sleep. I was the one who went to the house, who found him looking calm in his bed like he was just resting. I sat with him for an hour before I called anyone else. Just me and him and the quiet house. The funeral was everything I expected. Harper cried dramatically, dabbing her eyes with tissues, hugging relatives she had not spoken to in years. Travis showed up 30 minutes late, wearing wrinkled khakis and a polo shirt that did not quite fit. My parents looked tired, worn out, but also angry. I could see it in their tight mouths, their crossed arms. After the service, the lawyer read the will in Grandpa's living room. Dorothy Martinez, 60-something, gray hair, pulled back, reading glasses on a chain. "The house goes to Cole," she read. "The entire property, the land, the contents, everything. Sole ownership." The room went silent. Harper's face turned pale. Travis punched the wall near the kitchen, leaving a dent in the drywall. My mother stood up and said Grandpa was senile, that he did not know what he was doing, that this was not fair. My father just stared at me like I had stolen something from him. I sat there feeling confused and guilty and grateful all at once. Why me? I kept thinking. Why just me? The pressure started small. Just text messages at first. Harper sent one 3 days after the funeral. "We need to talk about the house. Not how are you, not are you okay after losing Grandpa? Just business." Travis called me at 11:30 at night that same week. "Bro, I am in deep trouble. Can you loan me against the house?" I could hear Kristen arguing with him in the background. I told him I was not making any decisions yet, that I needed time to grieve. My mother invited me to dinner the following Sunday. I thought maybe she wanted to check on me, see how I was handling everything. Instead, she spent 2 hours explaining why I should sell the house and split the money 3 ways. "It is only fair," she said, passing me the mashed potatoes like we were discussing the weather. "Your grandfather loved all of you equally. He would want you to share." My father nodded along. "We should contest the will," he added. "Challenge it in court. The lawyer could have influenced him." I left that dinner feeling sick, not from the food, but from the realization that nobody cared about me or Grandpa. They only cared about the money, about the property value, about what they could get. Harper changed tactics after that. She started being nice. Really nice. Suspiciously nice. She invited me to coffee at the place on Morrison Street, the one with the good lattes. She talked about family unity, about how we had drifted apart over the years. She mentioned casually that Andrew had lost his banking job, that they were struggling with their mortgage. "If we sold the house and split it 3 ways, she said, stirring sugar into her cup, "we would each get about $400,000. Think about what you could do with that, Cole. Buy a condo downtown, travel, invest." Travis took a different approach. He showed up at my apartment one Saturday morning looking rough. Hair messy, eyes red, 3-day stubble on his face. He actually cried, real tears. He told me his 3rd startup was his last chance. His last shot at making something of himself. The investors were pulling out. Kristen was threatening to leave. He needed capital, just enough to keep going another 6 months. "I am drowning, man," he said. "You are the only one who can save me." I felt awful. Genuinely awful. Was I being selfish? Was I wrong to keep the house? When my siblings were struggling, I started losing sleep, lying awake at 3 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, wondering if Grandpa had made a mistake. That is when I decided to talk to the lawyer. I called Dorothy Martinez and scheduled an appointment at her office on Wednesday afternoon. Her building was old, one of those historic places downtown with creaky wooden floors and tall windows. I sat in her leather chair and asked her straight out, Was Grandpa really okay when he made this decision? Was he thinking clearly? Dorothy smiled, sad but knowing. Cole, your grandfather was sharper than most people half his age right up until his last week. He knew exactly what he was doing. She leaned back in her chair. He also predicted your family would react exactly like this. She opened a drawer in her filing cabinet and pulled out another sealed envelope. He left this for you. He said to open it if your family pushed too hard. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter on Grandpa's personal stationery, the kind with his initials embossed at the top, and underneath the letter, a stack of printed documents, emails, bank statements, photos of text message conversations. I started reading the letter first. Cole, if you are reading this, it means I was right about what would happen. I am sorry you have to see this, but you deserve to know the truth. 3 years ago, I discovered that Harper and Travis were planning to convince me to sell this house before I died. They wanted the money split between the three of you, and they were afraid I would spend it all on medical care or leave it to charity. I found emails they sent to each other. I will not repeat what they said about you, but it hurt me deeply. They called you manipulative. They said you were playing the good grandson card to steal their inheritance. None of it was true. You loved me because you loved me, not because of what I owned. That is why this house is yours. That is why only you deserve it. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. I looked up at Dorothy. Can I see the documents? She pushed them across the desk. The first was an email from Harper to Travis dated 3 years ago. Subject line was Dad's house. I read it twice to make sure I was not imagining things. Travis, we have a problem. Cole is playing the good grandson card, spending all this time with Dad. We need to act fast before Dad gets too attached and cuts us out. Can you talk to him about selling the place? We could get at least $1 million split 3 ways. Even if Cole gets a bigger share for taking care of him, we still walk away with cash. Travis's response was even worse. I know. I have been thinking the same thing. Maybe we can convince Dad to sell now before the cancer treatments drain everything. He is stubborn, though. We might need Mom and Dad to help pressure him. There were 12 more emails like that. Planning, scheming, talking about Grandpa like he was just an obstacle to their money. I found bank statements showing that Harper and Travis had tried to add themselves as joint account holders on Grandpa's savings last year while he was sick. He had discovered it and removed their names immediately. Dorothy had documented everything. I sat in that office for an hour just reading, absorbing, feeling my anger build. Grandpa had known all along. He had protected me from knowing, but he had also protected himself from them. And now he was protecting me again, even from beyond the grave. I asked Dorothy what the legal implications were. She explained that the will contained a special clause. If my siblings tried to pressure or coerce me into giving up the property, she was authorized to release these documents. It was Grandpa's insurance policy, his way of making sure I had ammunition if things got ugly. Things were about to get very ugly. The guilt-tripping escalated fast. My mother called me crying one night. You are tearing this family apart, Cole. Do you even care about your brother and sister? Harper posted something on Facebook about family values and sharing blessings. She tagged me in it. Dozens of relatives I had not spoken to in years started commenting, asking what was going on. Travis showed up at my apartment at 2 a.m, drunk, pounding on my door. You are killing me, man, he yelled through the door. I have nothing left, and you have everything. Even Kristen, Travis's girlfriend, called me. Do you know what this is doing to him? He is depressed. He barely eats. He talks about ending it sometimes. Is a house really worth your brother's life? I stopped sleeping. I lost weight. My boss asked if everything was okay because I kept zoning out during meetings. I felt like I was being crushed under the weight of their expectations, their demands, their guilt. But I kept thinking about that letter, about those emails, about the fact that they had been planning this for years. Then my father called. His voice was different, stern, almost threatening. We are having a family meeting this Saturday at 3 p.m. Everyone will be there. You need to come. This was not a request. It was an order. Harper followed up with a text. Please come, Cole. We just want to talk. Find a solution that works for everyone. No pressure. Travis sent one too. Bro, just hear us out. Let us figure this out together. I felt the trap closing. But I also felt something else. Clarity. I knew what I had to do. I made copies of the will, especially the clause Grandpa had added about releasing documents. I made copies of all the emails and bank statements Dorothy had given me. I put everything in a folder. And I put a small voice recorder in my jacket pocket just in case. If they wanted a meeting, I would give them one they would never forget. I drove to my parents' house on Parker Drive Saturday afternoon. The fall air was crisp, leaves turning orange and red on the maple trees lining the street. It was the kind of beautiful day that made you forget ugly things existed in the world. I parked behind Harper's SUV and Travis's beat-up sedan. My stomach twisted into knots. I almost turned around and drove home. But I thought about Grandpa, about how he had faced his cancer with courage, how he never backed down from hard conversations. I owed him this much. The front door was unlocked. I walked in and found everyone already gathered in the living room. My father Richard sat in his recliner near the window. My mother Linda was on the couch next to Harper and her husband Andrew. Travis and Kristen sat in chairs they had pulled in from the dining room. Every seat was taken except one, a single wooden chair placed in the center of the room facing everyone else. It looked like an interrogation setup, like I was on trial. Nobody smiled when I walked in. The room felt cold despite the heating running. Come sit down, honey, my mother said, gesturing to the empty chair. Her voice had that fake sweetness she used when she wanted something. I sat down slowly, putting my folder on my lap, feeling all their eyes on me. The silence stretched out for what felt like forever. My father cleared his throat. Cole, we asked you here because we love you. We are family. This is not about the house, not really. This is about doing what is right. Harper nodded along. We are not here to attack you. We just want what is fair. Travis leaned forward. Yeah, man. We just want everyone to be okay. You know. My mother placed her hand over her heart. Your grandfather loved all of you equally. This house should represent that love. Then Harper opened her laptop. She had prepared a presentation, an actual PowerPoint. She turned the screen so I could see it. The first slide had a picture of Grandpa's house, with the title, Fair Distribution Plan, written in bold letters. My jaw nearly dropped. They had really prepared a whole business pitch. Slide 2 showed numbers. House estimated value, $1.2 million. Proposed plan sell property split proceeds 3 ways. Each sibling receives approximately $400,000 after fees and taxes. Harper clicked to the next slide. Benefits for everyone, the title read. Below it, bullet points. Harper can pay off mortgage and credit card debt. Travis can restart business venture with proper capital. Cole can purchase modern condo or invest in real estate opportunities. Andrew, Harper's husband, spoke up for the first time. It makes perfect financial sense, Cole. You are young. You do not need that big old house. You could do a lot with $400,000 in liquid assets. Invest it properly, and you are looking at early retirement. I sat there in silence. I let them talk. I wanted to hear how far they would take this. When I did not respond, my mother's tone shifted. You know Harper is struggling. Andrew lost his job. They might lose their apartment. Can you really live with that? Harper's eyes filled with tears on cue. We have never asked you for anything, Cole. I have always been the responsible one, the one who had everything together. Now I need help, and my own brother will not even consider it. Travis jumped in. I am drowning in debt, man. Creditors call me 10 times a day. Kristen might leave me. His girlfriend nodded, wiping her eyes with a tissue. I do not know how much longer I can do this, she said quietly. Travis needs this chance. My father's face turned red. Your grandfather was not in his right mind at the end, Cole. Everyone knows that. He played favorites, and it was not fair. Harper slammed her laptop shut. You manipulated him. You saw that house, and you played the long game. Spent all that time with him acting like you cared, when really you just wanted the inheritance. I felt my jaw clench. What I took care of him because I loved him, because nobody else would. Travis scoffed. Oh, please. You knew exactly what you were doing. My mother pointed her finger at me. If you really loved this family, if you had any decency, you would do the right thing. Andrew reached into his briefcase and pulled out legal documents. He placed them on the coffee table in front of me. We prepared everything. All you have to do is sign here and here. We can list the house next week. Spring market is good for sales. Harper smiled that fake sweet smile I used to trust when I was younger. It is simple, Cole. Sign this. We put the house on the market, split everything fairly, and we can all move on. We can be a family again. Travis nodded. Come on, bro. It is only fair we all benefit. My father crossed his arms. If you do not sign, you are telling us loud and clear that you do not care about your family, that a pile of wood and bricks matters more than your own blood. My mother's voice cracked with manufactured emotion. Your siblings need this, Cole. Harper has children to think about in the future. Travis needs to get his life back on track. How can you be so selfish? The room went quiet. Everyone stared at me, waiting, expecting me to crack under the pressure, to give them what they wanted. I could feel my heart pounding. Part of me, a small, weak part, almost considered it, almost wanted to make them happy, to make this all go away. But then I thought about Grandpa's letter, about those emails, about 3 years of lies. I reached into my folder slowly. I pulled out the copy of the will I had made. I placed it on the coffee table right next to their documents. Before I respond to any of this, I said calmly, I think you all should read something first. Harper rolled her eyes. We have seen the will, Cole. We know what it says. That is why we are here. I opened to the last page. I had highlighted a specific paragraph in yellow. I smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. Then I guess you have not read this part. I pointed to the clause Grandpa had added, the one Dorothy had shown me, the one none of them knew existed. My father leaned forward. What part? Everyone crowded around the table, bending down to read the text I was pointing to. I watched their faces change as they read. Harper went pale. Travis's mouth fell open. My mother's hand flew to her chest. Andrew actually stepped back like he had been slapped. I read the clause out loud so there would be no confusion. In the event that my other heirs attempt to pressure or coerce Cole into relinquishing this property, I hereby authorize the release of documents held by my attorney Dorothy Martinez, detailing the true nature of their character. The room stayed silent. Nobody moved. Harper found her voice first. What documents? What is he talking about? I reached into my folder again. This time I pulled out the printed emails. I held up the first one, the one from Harper to Travis, from 3 years ago. I started reading out loud. Travis, we have a problem. Cole is playing the good grandson card, spending all this time with Dad. We need to act fast before Dad gets too attached and cuts us out. Harper's face went from pale to ghost white. That is out of context, she stammered. You do not understand. I kept reading. Can you talk to him about selling the place? We could get at least $1 million split 3 ways. Even if Cole gets a bigger share for taking care of him, we still walk away with cash. I looked up at Travis. Want to hear your response? He shook his head. Cole, man, that was a long time ago. We were just talking. I read it anyway. I know. I have been thinking the same thing. Maybe we can convince Dad to sell now before the cancer treatments drain everything. My mother tried to interrupt. Cole, this is taken out of context. People say things when they are stressed. I held up my hand. There are 12 more emails just like this. Should I read all of them? Or should I skip to the part where you two tried to add yourselves to Grandpa's bank account while he was sick? I pulled out the bank statements. The ones showing Harper and Travis had attempted to become joint account holders on Grandpa's savings last year. The ones showing that Grandpa had discovered it and immediately removed their names. I placed them on the table, one by one, like I was dealing cards. Grandpa knew, I said. He knew everything you were doing. He documented it all. That is why he left the house to me. Not because he loved me more, because I was the only one who loved him. For who he was, not for what he owned. Travis stood up. You are making us look like monsters. I stayed seated, stayed calm. I did not make you do anything. You did this to yourselves. 3 years ago, before Grandpa even got sick, you were already planning how to split his assets. Harper started crying. Real tears this time, not the fake ones from earlier. Cole, I am sorry. We were desperate. We made mistakes. Andrew put his hand on her shoulder. I think we should go. Harper shook her head. No, I need to explain. But she could not. There was nothing to explain. The evidence was right there on the table. My father's face was red, but not from anger anymore. From shame. What do you want from us, Cole? What is this about? I looked at each of them. I want nothing. I came here because you asked me to come. But I am not signing anything. The house stays with me. That is what Grandpa wanted. My mother's voice broke. So, that is it. You are cutting us off. You are choosing a house over your family. I stood up, gathering my documents back into the folder. No, Mom. You all cut yourselves off 3 years ago when you started planning how to profit from Grandpa's death. I am just refusing to pretend it did not happen. I walked toward the door. Harper called after me. Cole, wait, please. I stopped with my hand on the doorknob. I turned around. What her makeup was running down her face. She looked smaller, somehow defeated. I am sorry. I really am. I looked at her for a long moment. I know you are Harper. But being sorry does not change what you did. It does not erase those emails. It does not give me back the last 3 years when I thought we were family. Travis stared at the floor. Kristen had her arms crossed, looking uncomfortable. My parents sat frozen on the couch. Andrew was already gathering their things. Nobody tried to stop me as I opened the door and walked out. The fall air hit my face cold and clean. I got in my car, started the engine, and drove away from that house on Parker Drive. For the first time in 3 months, I felt light, free, like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. The house on Elm Street was waiting for me. Grandpa's house. My house now. I drove there instead of going back to my apartment. I sat on the front porch as the sun started to set, turning the sky orange and pink. The same porch where Grandpa and I used to drink lemonade on summer evenings. The same porch where he taught me how to play chess. I could almost hear his voice. You did good, kid. You stood up for yourself. That is all I ever wanted you to learn. 6 months passed. I kept the house. I hired contractors to help me renovate it, keeping all the original character but updating what needed updating. New electrical, new plumbing, fresh paint in the same navy blue. I turned the downstairs into my architect's studio, a space where I could work on my designs with natural light pouring through those big Victorian windows. I lived upstairs in the bedrooms that still smelled faintly like Grandpa's aftershave. Harper reached out after 2 months. A text message late at night. I am sorry, Cole. Really, truly sorry. I am in therapy now. Andrew and I both are. We are working on ourselves. I did not respond right away. I let it sit for a week. Then I wrote back. I appreciate that. Let us take it slow. She understood. We started meeting for coffee once a month. Just the 2 of us. No talk about the house or money. Just siblings trying to figure out if we could be siblings again. It was awkward at first, painful even. But slowly something started to rebuild. Trust, maybe. Or at least the possibility of trust. Travis disappeared. He moved to California with Kristen, trying to start over out there. Harper told me he got a regular job, gave up on the startup dreams. He never called me. Never apologized. I heard through Mom that he was doing okay, paying off his debts slowly. Part of me hoped he would reach out someday. Part of me knew he probably never would. Some people cannot face their shame. My parents were the hardest. They avoided me completely for the first 3 months. Then one Sunday my dad called, asked if I wanted to get coffee. We met at a diner on Burnside Street. Neither of us knew what to say at first. Finally he spoke. "I'm not going to apologize for wanting what was fair, but I am sorry for how we handled it. For ganging up on you like that. It was not right." It was not much of an apology, but it was something. We started having coffee once a month. My mom joined after a while. The conversations were surface-level careful. Nobody mentioned the house or Grandpa or that terrible meeting. We were learning to have boundaries, something we had never had before. I realized that maybe we could have some kind of relationship, just a different one. Smaller, more honest. The house became more than just a house. It became proof that I could stand up for myself, that I could honor someone I loved without caving to pressure. I hosted dinner parties there for my friends from work. I adopted a dog from the shelter, a scruffy terrier mix named Buddy, who loved sleeping on the porch in the Sunday. I planted new flowers in the garden Grandpa had started, roses and lavender and daisies. Sometimes I sat in Grandpa's old armchair in the living room and looked at his photo on the mantel, the one from his Navy days, young and strong with that crooked smile. I thought about what he had written in that letter. "You loved me because you loved me, not because of what I owned." He had been right, and he had known that my siblings did not understand that kind of love. He had tried to teach them, but some lessons cannot be forced. One evening in early spring, I was sitting on the porch watching the sunset paint the sky purple and gold. I had a beer in my hand, Buddy at my feet. The oak tree in the backyard was starting to bud, tiny green leaves appearing on branches that had been bare all winter. I thought about everything that had happened, the will reading, the pressure, the ambush, the emails, walking out of that house on Parker Drive. I thought about Grandpa's favorite saying, "This house has stories, Cole. Make sure they continue." I realized he had not just been talking about the house's history. He had been talking about my story. About me having the courage to write my own chapters, even when everyone else wanted to write them for me. He had given me more than a house. He had given me permission to live according to my own values. Family is a strange thing. We spend our whole lives thinking it is about blood, about obligation, about sticking together no matter what. But real family is about respect, about honesty, about showing up when someone needs you, not when you need something from them. Grandpa taught me that, not with words but with actions, with every chess game we played, with every car he helped me fix, with every meal we shared, with one final lesson written in a will. Some people are born into family, others have to build it. I was doing both, slowly rebuilding something with Harper that might never be what it was, but could be something real, accepting that Travis might never come back, learning to have a different relationship with my parents, and building new family too. Friends who came over for barbecues, neighbors who waved from their yards, Buddy wagging his tail every time I came home. The contractor who helped me fix the porch, and now stops by for coffee sometimes. The house on Elm Street was not just mine anymore. It was ours. Mine and Grandpa's. Mine and everyone who would come after me. I had already decided that when my time came, I would leave it to someone who understood what it meant. Not the monetary value, the real value. The value of a place where love lived, where stories continued, where someone taught a broken kid how to be whole. I raised my beer toward the sunset. "Thanks, Grandpa," I said out loud even though nobody was there to hear it. "Thanks for trusting me. Thanks for teaching me. Thanks for believing I was strong enough to handle this." Buddy's ears perked up at the sound of my voice. He looked at me with those big brown eyes and wagged his tail. I scratched behind his ears and smiled. The house creaked a little as the evening air cooled, that settling sound old houses make. It sounded like a sigh. Like contentment. Like home. So here is what I want to know from you. Have you ever had to stand up to your family? Have you ever been in a situation where doing the right thing meant disappointing the people who were supposed to love you? Drop a comment below and tell me your story. I read every single one. And if this story resonated with you, If it reminded you that sometimes the hardest choices are the right ones, hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel because we share real stories about real people facing real challenges. Share this with someone who needs to hear that it is okay to set boundaries even with family. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I hope wherever you are right now, whatever you are dealing with, you find the courage to stand up for what you believe in. Life is too short to live according to someone else's expectations. Grandpa taught me that. Now, I am teaching you. Take care of yourselves. Honor the people who truly loved you. And remember, family is not always blood. Sometimes family is choice.